Welcome to Generation Digital Workforce, the podcast that's here to explore the role of robotic process automation and other digital technologies. Whether you're just getting started or you're looking for advanced strategies and tactics, if you're curious about where human and digital workers are coming together to transform the future of work, then this podcast is for you. All right, let's get into the show.
Welcome to Generation Digital Workforce. I'm your host for today's episode, Chelsea Gotzi, Senior Global Marketing Manager here at Blue Prism. I'm joined today by Paul Nerger and Andrew Campbell from the Blue Prism Digital Exchange team. Paul and Andrew, how are you guys doing today?
I'm doing great, Chelsea. It's a typical summer day here in San Francisco, so it's cold, but doing well.
I'm doing great as well, Chelsea. I'm enjoying the 100-plus degree weather here in Austin.
100. Okay, so it's 100 degrees in Austin and it's cold in San Francisco.
Yeah,
I mean, it is
here, and if we could balance those things out, we'd be perfect.
Well, it is 2020, so I think we're asking for a lot there. But that's great. It's good. It's good to have you both on the show with us today, and I know we'll be talking about the digital exchange and how the Blue Prism Digital Exchange allows you to leverage the dev work of others to scale faster. But before we begin, maybe you could tell our listeners a little bit more about who you are, what your roles are, and a little bit of background.
Yeah, my name is, as you introduced me, Paul Nerger, and I'm the Vice President of the Digital Exchange for Blue Prism, which I have the pleasure of leading such a team of tremendously talented people that work on the digital exchange that do, amazing things. My background is I've been in the software industry a very long time. I started back when I was 14, before there was really a software industry. And nowadays I kind of look at the industry, and I've always been in software, and I kind of say, where did all these old people come from? So it kind of changed. Yeah,
a little bit. Not that much. Has it changed that much?
Well, you see things come back and around, and, so you look at things like, virtualization, and, that was a technology developed by IBM in the 1960s. And it's just that we do it better. It's an old concept that we do better. So you see a lot of things that, we're just doing better. As the industry has matured, things have gotten better. AI has gotten better. RPA has been a marvelous breakthrough. So things get better and better and better, and making customers easier and things for customers to do easier and easier. Computers get faster and faster, although now there's talk about Moore's Law coming to an end. But, things are just better.
Yeah, things are definitely better. All right, Andrew, a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm the Senior Product Marketing Manager for Blue Prism Digital Exchange. Essentially, I am working with the Digital Exchange team to make sure that we position the product, our marketplace, to be really useful for our end users, and also to help support those automators that are contributing their technologies to the digital exchange ecosystem. My background is actually originally in chemistry. After completing a PhD in chemistry, I decided to go into education technology. So software, essentially helping college faculty to make their jobs more efficient, especially on the grading front. And I've continued sort of down a path of helping professionals to make their jobs more efficient. So it's a natural fit for me to end up at Blue Prism and the Digital Exchange.
Excellent. Sounds like it's very natural for you both to be here doing what you're doing right now. Okay, so let's dive into our topic then. We've got some things to kind of talk through about the digital exchange and about scaling using the digital exchange. What is the Blue Prism Digital Exchange, and how does it help organizations scale? I think that's the big question, right? So what is the Blue Prism Digital Exchange, and then how can organizations use it to scale?
Yeah, I think that the way people should really look at the digital exchange is that it is the Blue Prism marketplace. When you go to the digital exchange, there's really two sides to it. One side is that of the provider, those people that, have built very clever things. It might be a commercial software company. It could be a customer that wants to share something with the Blue Prism community. It could be Blue Prism itself. It could be an employee within Blue Prism. Anyone can submit an asset to the Blue Prism Digital Exchange. And then after it's approved, we take it through some, safety measures and approval measures. After it's approved, we publish it for viewing on the digital exchange, which, as I said, is a marketplace. So if you're an automator working within Blue Prism and you're in Blue Prism, Studio, you can click on the digital exchange tab and locate a connector or a process or a function or an AI skill that you need to finish your intelligent automation. And you can download it in real time if it's available, or you can purchase it if it's some of most of the assets we have are free, but we do have some that are commercial software that you need to get a license for, but you can pull that down into your automation and it will save you time.
Yeah, it turns out that most of our automators spend somewhere in the range of 8 to 24 plus hours to develop each asset. So that is all time that, we can't guarantee a specific amount of time savings, but we can say that if you're downloading an asset from the digital exchange, you are saving time that would otherwise be spent building those connectors.
Andrew, that's a very good point. In addition to that, I think there's also some quality issues too, because often these assets that are being shared, because there's a larger community working on them and collaborating on them, they take the extra effort to put it through a life cycle, and that life cycle causes improvements on it. So for instance, our Salesforce connector, it doesn't just connect to one of the Salesforce objects. It connects to the over 400 plus Salesforce objects that are out there. So you can create, read, update, or delete any data item within the Salesforce database.
Yeah, it ends up being a collaborative experience.
Yeah. So collaborating with other people elsewhere on the DX and on the marketplace to basically find assets so you can repurpose them or utilize them without having to create them yourself. So saving maybe some time, but also, for someone like me who may not know how to do that to begin with, I may be able to leverage those assets on the DX.
Right. Absolutely. In fact, one of the things that, I like to tell people is that, you should DX before you DIY. In other words, you go to the DX, you may find what you're looking for so that you don't have to do it yourself. And that's where you start saving the money and saving the time and effort that Andrew was talking about.
That's really interesting. Something that, someone like me would definitely love to just go to the digital exchange and go to the marketplace and browse around for different automations that I can use. So that's really, really insightful.
Yeah, I would add that it's not only for people like you. It's, as I said, I've been in the software industry a long time, and I started as a software engineer, and software engineers know how to build really clever software.
Right.
But at the end of the day, we're kind of lazy people. If we can leverage somebody else's work, we will do that. That's how this industry was built, and this is how software is built. It's about standing on the shoulders of giants, and there's a lot of giants out there, everyday heroes that have built assets, have uploaded them to the digital exchange, and are willing to share them so that you can stand on the shoulders of those everyday heroes.
Yeah.
And one of the features of the digital exchange is highlights and spotlights on some of those automators. So we hope that folks will come to Blue Prism Digital Exchange and be inspired to see ways that they might directly use assets, but also ways that they might create new automations, new technologies as a result of seeing what others can do.
Yeah. So inspiration. I like that. Okay. So we've been discussing obviously the digital exchange and how it's a robust marketplace and its availability to the public. But I know that we've also launched another version, the Blue Prism Digital Exchange Private. So why would a company want to have their own version of the Blue Prism Digital Exchange?
Yeah, it's a good question. And this is kind of a unique feature to, there's lots of app stores out there, but very few of them are really tailored for companies and company use. But because, we're very responsive to our customers and we've listened to them, and there were certain problems that they wanted to be able to solve. So what we found with the DX Private, we've given certain functionality to it, such as the ability to have private assets. In other words, you can upload an asset that you've created, be it a connector or a function or a whole process, and you can keep it private within your own enterprise, within your own company. And thus, because it's private, only your employees can see it. And because of that, now you're controlling that IP. Other capabilities that we have given is the ability to curate assets. So let's say that you're a company and your IT people want to scan all Blue Prism assets before they're used, and they want to make sure that they're using software that they approve. They can do that through the curation function. They can say, this one's approved, this one's not, and thus your employees can only download those things that are approved. We've also created some collaboration spaces in technology too, so that what happens is you can form teams to work on an asset, and the team can see the asset and go through a publishing mechanism, but they can work together and collaborate over time. It turns out that's extremely valuable. So we have customers that, want to be able to share assets around a bigger organization that crosses geographical lines, or perhaps they have more than one center of excellence, and they need to, and more than one instance of Blue Prism that they're trying to coordinate with, and thus they can have assets on their DX Private that they can distribute freely within their enterprise, and they can do that with confidence.
Okay, so public, you can see assets, the marketplace has assets from anyone, anywhere, and then the DX Private is really great for organizations internally to share assets that they've created with each other across their organization, across the globe, right?
Correct. There are some other aspects. It's not the public ones are not just they still go through a vetting process or a quality assurance process that's done by Blue Prism. So we look at things from a marketing perspective and how is it presented, and that we look at things from a legal perspective, in terms of export control and IP ownership, things like that. And then we also look at things from a technical aspect to make sure that they're safe. And if they meet all those requirements, then we approve them for publishing. And if it's a public asset, anyone can see it.
And of course, for our DX Private users, when they're creating those private assets, they don't have to go through the rigorous review process that we typically would apply to a new public asset. So if they have specific conditions that they want to manage, those are, essentially whatever they would like can be set up with the private assets that they've created. They don't have to add additional marketing materials or abide by certain standards.
A really good example of these private assets are one of our customers that, had multiple centers of excellence. They had in their DX Private, they had a single sign-on thing that was really unique to them. And they had made an update to the single sign-on, and they had broken all of their automations in the process of doing it. And because of the power of the Blue Prism object model and the ROM, they had done it correctly. They had isolated that. They identified it, what the issue was. They corrected that object and asset, uploaded it to the DX Private, and distributed it across their entire enterprise within minutes.
So how do employees know they're logged into their company's Blue Prism Digital Exchange private versus being part of the public marketplace or being in the public marketplace?
There's two ways that we do that. First of all, in the upper left-hand corner, there's a logo that says this is Blue Prism Digital Exchange. And when you're logged into the private one, the logo changes and it says DX Private. So we have a different logo. But sometimes that's visually not enough. You may want to do something that's more impactful. You may want to change that logo from the Blue Prism Digital Exchange logo or DX Private logo into your own company logo. You may want to change the color palette and the background and the foreground and the button links to reflect your color scheme of your company. And we give you that capability. So when you sign up for DX Private, you also have the ability to modify your look and feel for your DX Private. And thus, when you log into it, you positively, absolutely know that you're in that company site.
Okay, so you basically reskin it, which is kind of cool.
Exactly.
So with that, I guess my question is kind of around what would be the benefits really of choosing to go with the private over just the public? I guess we talked about it a little bit, right? The privacy and those types of things. I guess from my perspective, do we often see a lot of people that are creating automation assets that they want to be kept private and only internal?
I think we do. And there's a saying that we have here within the DX team that, what happens in the DX private stays in the DX private. And that's really what it's about. It's about providing that safety and that privacy. And, one of the things that we do with the digital exchange is we understand that intellectual property that you're uploading into the DX, that's your intellectual property. And you have the ability to control that IP because it's yours. And you can license it. And in fact, that's what you're doing is you're granting licenses to other people to use the IP that you've generated. So we're very respectful of that IP. And one of the things that the DX Private does is it allows you to say, well, this asset is my IP and I choose not to share it with the community, but I still would like to use it within my company. So what we're doing is we're giving you the ability to do that. We're also giving you the ability to then curate the public assets in your DX Private such that you're only using the things that you want your teams to use. And thus we're giving you even more control.
Okay. So what kind of impact can a company expect from using the Blue Prism Digital Exchange overall, whether they're going with, the public marketplace or they're choosing to go with the private? Maybe it's a mix of both, I suppose.
It's really a variety of ways that companies have been impacted by their use of Blue Prism Digital Exchange. In some cases, as I mentioned earlier, inspiration happens. Somebody will see how a particular connector has been added, and they might be inspired to create a new connector for a different platform. In other cases, folks have, as we mentioned, saved a lot of time by borrowing at least components of VBOs that are available on Blue Prism Digital Exchange. So it might get them, to a certain level, and then they have to complete the process using building blocks from Blue Prism Digital Exchange.
Yeah, I think this idea that you can save a lot of money, and to Andrew's point, he was sharing numbers about how long it takes to build these components. Again, one of the ways we kind of summarize it is, which is quicker? Is it 20 hours or 2 minutes? And that's why you DX before you DIY, is because you can spend 2 minutes to pull something down from the DX and use it, or you can spend 20 hours to build something, or 5 hours, or 12 hours, or however long that object takes to build. Now, clearly the DX isn't going to be able to provide everything, but it's growing, and it grows every month, and we add new connectors and new functions and new processes that you might be able to take advantage of. And, we're constantly looking at building new connectors that have the biggest impact to our customers. But, it doesn't cost you anything to go to the DX to find out if there's something that you can leverage. And that's why we say DX before you DIY. You still may have to build something yourself because it's an in-house function or in-house program that's unique to your business. But if you're using commercial off-the-shelf software or open source software that's readily available over the internet, you don't know. If you go to the DX, you may find the connector that you're looking for that somebody else, your problem may not be unique to you, and thus somebody else may have already built it and made it available for you to use.
All right. So then I've got, I think, one more question for both of you here before we conclude. What is your favorite asset on the DX? Do you have one?
Oh boy, that's such a tough decision. That's like asking who's your favorite child.
Oh.
Yeah. But there are some, I think, really, really cool ones. And there's some that are coming, I just looked at a bunch of them that have not been published yet and are pretty powerful. And there's some that are published. So on the ones that are published, one of the ones I think that's really impressive is there's a solution from Latitude. It's actually combines. It's a full process, so it's a complete business solution, and it combines technology from Latitude, Abby, the OCR company, and Blue Prism, and it's all in a big bundle. And what it does is it's related to COVID-19 in the pandemic, and what it does is it actually accelerates the Small Business Administration Payroll Protection Program loans. And then there's new ones coming out that are doing the loan forgiveness. And this has transformed banks in really profound ways, where banks were able to, where they might do an SBA loan, one a week, they found themselves doing thousands a week. And this digital worker could scale and do that sort of thing for them. Some of the newer ones that are coming out, I saw one the other day that, was submitted by one of our employees that used a local artificial intelligence to analyze chest x-rays for COVID-19 patients to determine which ones were in fact COVID infected versus not. And again, mind-boggling. It just shows the power of Blue Prism and, the cleverness of all these automators that are out there. So, Andrew, I'm sure you have some favorites.
I do. I definitely want to second the COVID-19 assets that are available. There's one just loaded up called Extreme Insights, and that helps folks to follow epidemiological surveillance and really gain insights into how this disease is spreading right now. There's a lot of resources like that asset that folks can use right now where it's so critical. And I'm also inspired by some of our private customers, those that are creating assets to help accelerate, whether it's distributing test results within their medical communities, or connecting to patient scheduling and monitoring systems, things that really are helping accelerate the treatment of patients during this critical time.
Yeah, and it's interesting that both of us picked COVID-19 ones, and I think we might have COVID brain, because of the situation. But there are a lot of other great assets there that are just kind of bread and butter things, like the Salesforce connector. So many companies use Salesforce, and this just kind of makes it really simple. ServiceNow, is another one. It's so many companies use ServiceNow, and the ability to just download these connectors that were jointly built by ServiceNow and Blue Prism, and they're really of the highest possible quality, is just a fantastic sort of thing. So there's a lot more than just COVID, but it's funny how we both picked COVID because I guess we've been spending too much time in our homes.
Yeah,
that's for
we
sure.
all have been.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Paul and Andrew, this has been a great conversation. To all of our listeners, go check out the DX to discover and shop for new assets or automations, maybe submit or share your assets. And if anyone has any follow-up questions or would like to connect with Paul and Andrew, what's the best way for them to find you?
I'm on LinkedIn, so it's just Andrew Scott Campbell.
I'm also on LinkedIn at just Paul Nerger, Nerger, and you can also reach me on my Blue Prism address, paul.nerger at blueprism.com.
Awesome. All right. Well, Paul and Andrew, thanks again for being on the show. We really appreciate it. To our audience, thank you so much for joining us today as well. We hope you enjoyed hearing from Paul and Andrew from the Blue Prism Digital Exchange about how to leverage the digital exchange DevWorks of others to save you time and help you scale faster. Have a great day, and we'll see you all again soon.
You've been listening to Generation Digital Workforce. If you want to hear more about RPA, AI, and other cognitive technologies that are shaping the future of work, join us next time as we continue to go deeper on these topics with industry innovators and experts. To make sure you never miss a future episode, subscribe to the show in your favorite podcast player. And if you've liked what you heard today, please leave us a review. It's one of the best ways to help more people find valuable content. For show notes and more info, visit us at blueprism.com/podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.